all you have to do is turn this, make it vertical, and the weapon can start functioning normally again. However, if the weapon is clean, do not put it at the vertical level because it will beat your weapon to death. Horizontal, as long as it works, and once it starts to slow down, twist it to vertical. Something that was not immediately appreciated when this weapon was introduced in 1977 was the fact that its magazine was made of plastic. Up to that time, plastic magazines were almost unheard of. And not only was it plastic, it was also translucent. It enabled the user to be able to determine at a glance how much ammunition was remaining. So it served a double purpose. One was to lighten the magazine, and number two, to make the ammunition capacity visible. Now, rifle magazines like these are not loaded like pistol magazines, wherein you press in front and push backwards. This you just put it on top, press downwards. There. Okay. These magazines have a capacity of 30 rounds. Unfortunately, Steyr at that time, since there was no standardization of magazines by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, decided to make their own proprietary magazine. This is not compatible with that of the M16. Okay? It is not compatible. You cannot use this on the AUG, and you cannot use the AUG's magazines on the M16. There are versions of this as made by MSAR that can accept this. However, this is not one of them. Okay, the M16 magazine uses a notch on the left side of the magazine body to hold the magazine on. The AUG magazine, on the other hand, acts like an AK magazine or an M14 magazine, wherein the part that holds the magazine is at the back. So basically, what we have here is a plastic magazine made of a kind of polymer that is very, very durable, yet allows the shooter to determine the ammunition capacity at a glance. Okay, before we go on to the shooting part, I'd like to share a bit of trivia with you. Australia was the second country to adopt the AUG as standard weapon way back in 1988. And apparently at the time, they wanted to cut costs. They did not pay Steyr the exact amount of money needed for full technical support. And so the technical data package, the TDP, was not included. That's why the Australian version of this, called the F88 AUS Steyr, had many problems initially when it was first fielded. Among them is that their magazines, since they were not able to get the proper plastic use, which is called polyamide 66, although it functioned well when the Australian soldiers cleaned it with bore solvent, it had a distressing tendency to melt. With the present magazines now, these do not melt anymore when cleaned and are very reliable. But just to show that if your formulations when it comes to plastics are not exact, bad things can happen. Hilarious things actually can happen. Now we go to the fun part, which I think most of you have been wanting to see. We will come to the shooting. Now, first of all, before anything else, always eye and hearing protection. You might get away without using hearing protection, but never ever without eye protection. So, as you can see, Julius has shooting glasses and earplugs. I have glasses and earmuffs. Okay, now, a few tips on the proper stance on using this. Now, Julius stands with feet slightly apart and then shoulders the weapon. Okay, Jules, shoulder. Now, Julius is actually bending back a little. The proper stance is for Julius to move forward a little, an aggressive stance. Not so much that you get off balance, but just enough that you lean forward a little and you are comfortable. Now, the proper way of shooting a combat weapon like this is not to have your elbows like chicken wings to the sides. That is the classical way of shooting rifles, and that has no place in today's modern battlefield. When using combat rifles like this, your elbow should always be clipped to your body, not this way. Why? Number one, in close quarters battle situation, this will get hit on door frames and windows and other things inside the house. Number two, it is a bullet magnet. it is just one more thing for a bullet to hit. So, you put your elbow down this way, and then Julius is exhibiting proper safety by not putting his trigger finger inside until ready to shoot. And then as he leans forward, he uses the vertical foregrip here to best utilization, as he is able to aim and press to his shoulder for maximum control of the weapon during the firing sequence. Okay, Julius, load your magazine. Okay. Now, once you hear the click, always tap hard to make sure it is inside. Now, Julius will manipulate the bolt, the charging handle, smartly. Okay. As you have seen, Julius pulls it back and releases it. Not pull it back and go forward with it. It might cause a malfunction. That was the proper way to do it. Pull back and release. Okay, Julius will now go to the shooting part. Ready? 2 shots per target, 3 targets, go! Julius here actually is a left-hander. However, since this AUG is set up for a right-hander, as the owner is a right-hander, so Julius is trying his best. And actually, he is admitting that it's not so hard after all. Now, in the next firing sequence, it will be what we call a build drill. 6 rounds into the alpha zone of the target as fast as you can. Notice the lack of muzzle rise in this weapon.